Okay, so welcome back to The Thing It Is We Do. Today the thing is being done with a special guest, Merphy Napier. How is this evening for you?
Oh, it's great. Thanks, Liam. How's your morning?
My morning it's all right. I've got my coffee, my tea, and my water, which is the traditional morning interview combination. Coffee to wake me up, tea to clear my throat, and water to make sure my mouth isn't dry and going.
Wow. I have a quarter of a bottle of water that is left over from yesterday. Just as professional, right?
Exactly, just as professional. I wish I could get away with that. Thank you for being here, because I think I speak for quite a few people when I say that as a collective fan base, we have quite thoroughly enjoyed your journey through One Piece.
Thank you.
How did that journey begin? How did you stumble into this wonderful world?
Incessant commenters. So my journey with One Piece is pretty much my journey with manga as well. I said that I was willing to try manga, but didn't have any experience with it. So I started with Death Note, and I got half through, and then there was a thing that made me lose interest. So I didn't actually finish Death Note.
We all know what the thing is.
Yeah, right. I skipped all of the second half and just went straight to the end to see how it would end, and that was my experience with Death Note. And then I read part of Full Metal Alchemist and was really enjoying it, but just lost interest because I wasn't used to manga. And then One Piece was my first commitment. It was my first yes with manga. And it was just a commenter that was so persistent that he actually ended up changing his YouTube name to Merphy Read One Piece. And I was like, you know what? Good effort. Let's go.
I've actually had people comment on several of my channels with names Merphy Read and X title.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I think me telling that story is only making it worse.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you involved in the fan base. What was the moment in One Piece where it like fully converted you?
Yeah, there are kind of three answers to that. From the jump, loved it. I'm a big fan of fantasy. I'm a big fan of pirate stories, adventure, anything nautical, family, world building. I love an epic world. Really just everything about One Piece from the jump hooked me. But it wasn't until Skypiea that I realized what an epic I was reading. I thought I was reading a fun adventure with some really great emotional moments. And it was Skypiea that made me realize, oh, Oda's doing something, and he's doing something bigger than what I thought. And this is all going to connect, and this is a story that I can dissect and analyze even deeper than I realized. And that was when I got even more committed. But when it became a piece of my identity, a part of my personality, was Enies Lobby and Water 7.
I think that's a fairly common falling in love point.
It's
pretty peak One Piece. How do you feel about Oda's art style? Which is a question I ask because it can be a common barrier to entry with One Piece, with people feeling that it's too wacky or too cartoony.
So it was a barrier for me at first. I feel like even though that first chapter I think is gold, I think the first chapter is phenomenal. It took me a while to get used to it. It was the big foreheads, actually, at the beginning. They just, like, do you know what I mean? Like, the face framing is odd. And I feel like he changes that a little bit. He adjusted a little bit later on. But, I mean, going back, I love the art style in the beginning now. It's so clean, and it's so, like, the paneling is so uncluttered. And it makes for such impactful moments, like the one with Luffy at the pier, I don't know, where the execution was, and it's just Luffy and that platform and then just nothing. And like those kinds of panels hit so hard looking back now. But in the beginning, I was very much, as a non-manga reader and as someone who just didn't know what I was doing, I looked at this wacky, goofy art style. I was like, all right, fine. but I mean, it is also a really goofy series, so it suits.
It is. Were you always on board with that? Because I feel like I recall a time where you weren't entirely pleased with the absurdity of it.
Yeah, I used to very emphatically say I don't like absurdist fiction. And like, I wouldn't read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I wouldn't, like, there are so many, I know, right? I know. Discworld, there are so many infamous works that I was like, I won't even try it because I don't like absurdity. And with One Piece, I went in, I didn't know how long the series was. I didn't know what the genre was. I didn't know the basic plot line. I didn't even read the back description of the first volume. I didn't know anything about it. It was just the hustle of that one commenter that got me going. So for me, it was, in fact, in my first review, I think I even was like, this doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense, and look at this, and I thought about this, and look at the science behind this. You know, like, I was wrapped around the axle about some stuff. And it wasn't until I got a little bit deeper in that I realized this is what this is doing. And you either have to deal with it or you have to, you know, not read the series. So I decided to deal with it. And it turns out I love absurdist fiction. I recently read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I'm obsessed with that too. I know, right? It's amazing. So Oda has converted me. You know, Oda's just been good for me in a lot of ways.
This one single commenter has apparently just completely changed your life.
No, it's true. It's really true.
Do you have a favorite and or least favorite character?
Can I give you a top 5 list for favorite? And it'll just be rapid fire.
Go for it.
Whitebeard, because he's the perfect father and he's the heart of found family and the heart of adoption, and I adore him. Corazon, because he's the heart of, I don't know, family and loyalty and goodness. Oh my gosh, Corazon. How do you say his name?
Heart.
Cora? Yeah, quite literally the heart. Oh, I love him. Buggy, because he is the one true pirate king and I will follow him off the edge of the earth.
Are these in any particular order?
Nah. I'm just bad at picking favorites, so I gotta do a group. Oh, the shovel guy. I forgot to look up his name. The guy from Arabasta that he's digging and he's just waiting on the rain.
Oh, Toto.
Do you know who I'm talking? Yeah, that's it. Yes. He is easily one of my favorites. I think he encompasses a lot of what One Piece is about. And Crocodile. He's one of my favorite villains. He's just so cool. I don't even have a good reason. He's just so cool.
No one needs a good reason to love Crocodile. All right, well, on the other side of the spectrum, how about least favorite?
Swampy. Carabao. Hate. Liam, I hate him so much. And I know he's going to become a really important part of One Piece. He has to. Like, he has to be a relevant part of the plot. I want him to die. I want him to leave and never come back. Oda, restructure your plans. Get rid of him.
So you weren't a big fan of the Carabao cover story that lasted about 40 pages?
Oh, I don't even think I read it all. I think I just started skipping. I'm so sorry. I just hate him so much. I hate his tongue. I hate his goopiness. I hate that he wears his sleeves like a 2-year-old. I hate everything about him. But do you have a favorite and a least favorite?
Favorite is Zoro. That's just what I am.
Fair enough. I excluded Straw Hats because those are like the obvious ones.
Okay, that's fair enough. I can do the same. In that case, My favorite would probably be Katakuri.
That's a good choice. What about least favorite?
Least favorite, it has to be... this is always controversial. It has to be either Gecko Moria, just because I never quite gotten on board with what he is.
I think he's well hated. You'll do okay with that one. Now give me the controversial one. Give me the real answer.
Oh, the controversial one would be Sabo, just because I don't particularly like how he was integrated into the story.
I think that's super fair. I think that's very understandable. His integration felt very much like one brother's gone, here's another one for you. And then also the memory loss thing to justify everything was also pretty clunky. And I don't think Oda does a lot of things clunky. Yeah, yeah.
I cannot recall a time in my media consuming existence where I've seen an amnesia plotline play out satisfactorily. And the 2 times it's happened in One Piece, I have not broken that one.
Both of them have been rough. I agree. You're right. I've seen it done in ways that I'm okay with, but I don't think that's a trope that Oda needs to keep playing with.
Please, no.
Yeah.
2 was enough. 1 was enough.
1 was enough.
Have you watched the One Piece anime at all?
So I've only watched key scenes that as I was reading through, when I would read through, and still do with new chapters, I read it on my Patreon, and my patrons read it with me, and when I was behind all of them, one guy, Smiling Jack, would upload clips of the most impactful or best fights or things like that so that I could see it in the anime. But the only full episodes I've watched have been the Zoom Zoom Queen episode, which I watched twice. It's so good. And then I just watched the episode, the 10:15.
Directed by the same person, both of those episodes.
Really? I didn't know that.
Megumi Shitani. She is our new goddess.
She did an incredible job.
Well, I think that's a good way to experience it, because I'm sure you've heard the One Piece anime can be a little bit controversial with how it handles things from time to time.
Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of controversy, what is your most controversial One Piece opinion?
Okay, so I think I'll give you two, that I've gotten the most opinions on is when I called Fishman Island a masterpiece and said it was in my top 5 arcs, that people don't agree with. And when I made the comparison that Pudding and Boa are similar character types, like the strong, powerful woman who has a lot of ability and who's complex and evil, turned simp for comedic effect, but still powerful, still has her own agency, still great, but like that kind of flow. I think that they're a similar character type, and I think Pudding was executed better.
Ooh, yeah, I can see how that.
I love Boa. I'm a big fan of Boa, but I think Pudding was done better.
Yeah, Boa just has that solid force of popularity behind her.
She does, big time.
Switching to more current events, I had a really good time watching your recent chapter reviews, which I believe were supposed to be monthly, and then sort of turned into weekly for a bit.
They did, yeah, you're right. Oda kind of ruined my plans immediately.
You caught up at a very prime time.
So. I did.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Gear 5th?
I love it. I love it because Gear 5th encompasses so much of what One Piece is, it being the freedom fruit, it having, Luffy has complete freedom to do whatever he wants with it, and he is the liberator, he is the bringer of freedom throughout this entire series. I think it's beautiful. I even like the new art style. I think it's fun and goofy, and I think it suits. He's the joy boy. He has the will. He's the encompassment. Whatever it means, we still don't fully know, but he is in some way, shape, or form taking on the mantle of joy boy. And I think this new art style, and I think the smile that's constantly on his face, it brings so much joy. And I think that what Gear 5th did for the community as well, how people came together and everybody was, not everybody, so many people were smiling and laughing and just
almost everybody
losing their minds. Almost everybody was losing their minds. And I think it's beautiful that the fandom, I don't know, it just felt like it did something different during those few chapters.
I don't know about you because you live sort of One Piece adjacent, but for people like me who are just very balls deep into it, it was like an asteroid hitting the planet, that kind of level news.
That's so cool.
Impactful, I suppose, yeah.
I love it.
You probably have a very different perspective on Wano to most of us because you've had, I would say, the privilege of reading it in a nice big glob. How do you think it compares to previous One Piece arcs and or sagas?
From my perspective, it's one of the best. I guess I can understand the complaints toward it, especially because the Straw Hats aren't always a significant force in the series. Or not in the series, in the arc.
I mean, you're right. They're not always significant in the series.
Yeah, I guess so. But they are, in every arc, they're a really big driving force for the arc. And for Wano, they took a big, long back seat. For me, I feel like as far as antagonists, it's one of my favorite antagonists. As far as themes, he's exploring themes so impeccably. I'm such a themes person, and Oda is one of the best themes writers I've ever read, and he's killing it with Wano. with side characters, which Oda always puts a lot of focus on side characters. The red scabbards are phenomenal. I have been told that the entire fandom doesn't think so. I want to make a whole video saying why you're wrong about the scabbards because they're so amazing. And oh my goodness, I love their story. I love their journey. I'm fine with them taking, the front seat for a lot of this arc. And then with everything that it's doing with Luffy, and even the crew has come together several times in this arc, which we're not getting that much of post time skip. So I don't know. I'm loving it. I'm having the best time.
I think that is the perfect answer. About the vassals, I think that's a very vocal minority.
Really?
The vassals, I think, in my experience, are very well loved.
Good. Oh, good.
Most of them.
Good. I'll retitle it, but I'm still going to make the video. Because, oh man, I think they're wonderful. I'm glad they're loved. I think they deserve it.
They absolutely are. I think there's just a couple like Ashura Doji who people are a bit lukewarm on because he hasn't done a whole lot.
He will.
There's a lot of them. They can't all be superb.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
My favorite? Kawamatsu.
Mine too!
Yeah, really?
Don't break my heart. Don't take it back.
I'm going to have to half break it because it's a tie between Kawamatsu and Raizo.
Fair enough.
They keep overtaking one another.
Raizo's cool. Raizo's cool, but yeah, it's Kawamatsu for me. He has been from the start. Well, not the start, but since I met him. Although also Treehead, what's his name? Pink hair Treehead?
Treehead.
The guy with the hair. It looks like a tree on his head.
Ashura Doji?
Oh, the one that you just said wasn't your favorite?
Yeah.
I got names mixed up. Man, I'm so bad with names. I really like him. Anyway, I'm terrible with names. I'm so sorry.
Ashura Doji and Denjiro both have two names, depending on where you encounter them in Wano, so it gets confusing.
That's true. I think that Kawamatsu and Treehead, whose name I've already forgotten, they're such opposites of each other in how they reacted to everything, but I think that they encompass such a fair reaction. And I don't know, both of them just hit me really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great way of Oda exploring those two different responses to that kind of hardship.
Absolutely.
So aside from some of the big stuff, the One Pieces, the Void Centuries, what is the series mystery that you most want solved?
So I'm a big character person. So I gotta know what's up with Kuma. I need his backstory. I need his big, tragic, terrible flashback. I need to know why Vegapunk is doing this to him, what the agenda is. I have some ideas, but they're probably all wrong. I need all of his answers.
What is one of your wrong ideas?
Oh, no. I had a whole theory built a while ago. I doubt I still have it all intact in my brain. I think I had this thought that they were using him. They had some sort of dirt on him, or they had some sort of something in his past with his kingdom, with him being, what was he, a king or a lord or something in some previous time? Something to do with that they were able to force him to be the test subject, and he was the beginning for them to figure out how to create this mindless machine, and that their agenda has been to do this with all the warlords, which they've now disbanded warlords and they're hunting them down, which I don't know, maybe they're hunting them down so that they can Kuma everybody.
Cyborg Mihawk. I love
Cyborg Mihawk, yeah. Well, that'll there you go. Cyborg Mihawk versus Zoro. That's how Zoro gets his title.
I tell you what, that would make a fun thumbnail. Mihawk with half of his face melted off Terminator style.
I love that you instantly think of a thumbnail.
Eye-grabbing, yeah. That's just the world I live in. I would agree with you, actually, about the general Kuminess, and he is somehow tied to pretty much every major faction in this world.
That's so true.
Pirates, warlords, revolutionaries, world government. He is this bizarre linchpin, mysterious linchpin that's just sitting, waiting to be pulled.
Yeah, and I know it's so sometimes stressful to be a One Piece fan because there's so many things that I know Oda has to tie up. He's laid so many clues and so much groundwork, and I just worry that he doesn't have the time because I know he feels pressure to wrap this series up in a timely manner. And there's so much that it's if you drop this because you have to, I will be so sad. I need so many things that I worry he won't have time to do justice.
Yeah, this is a frequent topic of discussion, how long One Piece has left.
Yeah.
around 2 years ago, the estimate was about 5 years. And
it's just not enough.
It's nowhere near enough. No.
And I hope it's not. You know, assuming Oda wants to go on, I hope it's not 5 years. But I do think that he feels pressure to wrap it up.
Maybe.
You don't think so? I hope I'm wrong.
I don't know. I feel like the pressure would come from Oda himself because of the physical and mental stress it puts him under to create One Piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
From a business perspective, I imagine that Shueisha would be pleased to just carry this on for as long as it can.
Yeah.
It's the most successful manga of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a series, I think, hey? It's passed up Harry Potter and several really, really popular novels.
I think it's the 20th highest grossing franchise of all time.
Franchise, not just literature?
Franchise.
Wow, that's
including
amazing.
Like the anime, the games, and merchandising. Merchandising is half of it, you know.
That's
all
incredible.
The adorable plushies and stuff.
You're right.
Is there anything that you would change about One Piece?
Totally. I think two main things. One, I think Oda takes his pervy humor too far sometimes. And it'd be cool if he had someone in his inner circle to be like, not that one. Dial it back a little bit, you know? And then, oh my gosh, fake out deaths. If we could just kill those and leave them dead, that would be swell.
The irony.
Oh, I hate. I get so tired of it.
Yep, it's gotten to the point in One Piece where I see a death and I'm already just preparing myself for the revelation that it's not a death.
Yeah, you don't even feel it anymore.
Feel the emotion of the moment. So I'm like,
yes,
they'll be fine.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly how I feel. And there are some deaths that I'm like, feel this one, because this one might not be it. But I've become so calloused.
I have, yeah. Like you fooled me before many times. It's not going to happen again.
Lola's dad. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Pound.
Pound, that's it. Good job. Man, wow. Yes, Pound. That one is like, it was so unneeded. And it was like, his sacrifice was beautiful. It's like Pell all over again, but on a much smaller scale. So I genuinely, I still have Pedro in the back of my head scared that he'll come back. I don't want it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm half expecting at the end of the series for Ace to be like waving at us at one of the back.
Pedro, do not touch my precious Jaguar.
Yes.
He was sent off perfect.
It was yes, it was, but so was Pell. And I'll leave it alone.
It's best we leave it alone. I feel like I rant about this a bit too much.
I know, I do too. I do too.
All right, very important question now. What is the One Piece?
I mean, I don't know.
Fair answer.
I've watched a couple of theory videos. It seems to be a really popular one that it's sake, which...
That is the current one, yes.
Yeah, when I watched a couple of videos, I was right there. I was like, okay, I think you have me convinced, but with a little bit more time, I say nay. Because the reason is because why did Roger say that he was too early if it's sake? Right? Like, I'm cool with Roger, I don't know, drinking it and then, I don't know, replacing it or something for the next guy. But why would he look at that and say, I'm too soon? It doesn't, so I feel like it has to, I mean, I don't know. I have a video coming out soon where I address it a little bit and say what I think it might be. But I feel like it has to be either an ancient weapon or something like that that's meant to take down the world nobles, bring down the red line, something like that. I mean, I don't want to spoil everything that I say in the video, but like I feel like for Roger to see that and then say, I see what we have to do, but it's too soon, right? Like that makes sense to me more than sake does.
Fair enough, so long as it's a hilarious ancient weapon as well.
Right, yeah. Do you have a theory? Are you on board with the sake thing?
I try not to think about it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
The moment that the One Piece actually is revealed it very much signals the beginning of the end.
It does, doesn't it?
I try not to think that far ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I've like I said, I've watched a few theory videos. I haven't watched very many, but the more I watch, the more I feel like this is cool, and I'm really amazed at the skill of being able to hyperanalyze to this point. But I also don't want to get so wrapped up in my own theory that I would I wouldn't leave room for Oda to do whatever it is he's going to do in my mind, because I don't want to get stuck on something when he inevitably does something that none of us have thought of.
Exactly. My camera is about to shut off, so thank you so much for taking the time to discuss fictional pirates with us. There will be a link to Merphy's channel in the description. Merphy, do you have any final words in 5 seconds?
Thank you for having me.
Perfect.